The Boston Red Sox have a very interesting offseason ahead of them. They have a lot of decisions to make. They have a lot of different routes they can go, and they have some needs they got to fill. And also, too, a bunch of free agent, a bunch of guys coming off their roster heading into free agency, meaning a lot of money coming off the books, but a lot of guys you got to replace at the same time while also trying to make your team better. There's a lot of different ways the Red Sox can take this offseason. There's a lot of different roads they can go, and it's going to be interesting to see which direction they go. There's a lot of options for them out there. This is going to be your Red Sox offseason preview right here on Bleacher Brawls. My name is Derek, and let's get straight into it. First things first, when talking about the Red Sox offseason, is Xander Bogaerts. Xander Bogaerts is the number one guy to talk about when you talk about the Red Sox and their offseason and their offseason plans. They have a massive hole at shortstop, a Xander Bogaerts-sized hole at shortstop. Like that, there's no debate on that. And Bogaerts is now a free agent. He can go talk to other teams. Never been able to do it before. He can go do it. And as some Red Sox fans getting a little scared about it. Is Bogaerts going to return? Are the Red Sox going to give him a legitimate offer? Does Bogaerts even want to return? There are a lot of questions. But the big thing is the Red Sox have to find a shortstop and a legit shortstop. To me, they have to get one of those four free agent shortstops. Bogaerts, Turner, Correa, or Swanson. They got to get one of the four. There are pros and cons to each. If we're talking about the Red Sox, this is the Red Sox offseason preview, not about Bogaerts and his free agency. This is about the Red Sox, which we probably get to Bogaerts a little bit more in further weeks. But the Red Sox, to me, their best fit as a team is Xander Bogaerts. However, if you're looking solely from a lineup construction perspective, Trey Turner fits the lineup better because he's the leadoff hitter the Red Sox need, and he adds more speed to the lineup. I think stolen bases will jump in 2023, and having both Turner and Trevor Story, you can both swipe some bags for you. I think that would be very important for the Red Sox to have. I mean, that's probably 50 stolen bases just right there. A nice 50 stolen bases, nice and easy. Yeah, I think that makes too much sense for the Red Sox to get Trey Turner from a lineup construction standpoint, but from a team standpoint, Xander Bogaerts, he's the number one guy for the Red Sox. Bogaerts, no one really knows what he's going to get. I've seen people say 6 for 170. I've seen people say 8 for 225. And my latest column for Bleacher Brawls, which will be down in the description, covering the Red Sox pending free agents. I said, I don't know. I have a weird feeling that Philly's just going to throw a bunch of money at Bogaerts. Dombrowski is going to throw a bunch of money at Bogaerts. 10 years, 285 was my prediction. I don't know if it'll actually be that much, but I feel like they're going to throw a ludicrous amount of money at him. And I know the Phillies are also circling around Trey Turner as well. But I think Dombrowski kind of going to go for his old friend in Bogaerts, someone that he knows and can trust and that he's worked with before. And for the Red Sox, though, if you get Bogaerts, great, right? If you lose Bogaerts, you got to get one of the other three free agent shortstops. To me, Trey Turner is obviously that number one option after Bogaerts. So let's say Bogaerts was off the board, hypothetically. Trey Turner's number one. To me, Swanson is number two, although Correa is the better player than Swanson. To me, Dansby Swanson's going to be cheaper. I think it's kind of universally thought that Swanson's going to be cheaper. I think you can get Swanson at a more valuable deal. And also, Scott Boras, not only Bogaerts' agent, also Correa's agent. I don't see Correa happening, honestly. And Correa is going to be even more money than Bogaerts. I think Correa will be the most expensive. So at that point, you might as well just go give Bogaerts money, right? At least that's kind of how I'm seeing it, because I think Bogaerts fits the team better. Now, if we're talking about Dansby Swanson to Carlos Correa, yeah, give me Dansby Swanson. I think it'll be a little cheaper, and you could potentially save money elsewhere, like their starting pitching, where the Red Sox, I'm going to talk about two guys first, the two right-handers they're losing in the rotation, Nathan Eovaldi and Michael Wacha. For Eovaldi, I don't think he comes back. I think Texas is a good fit for him. It's a little bit of a homecoming for him, and at the same time, Texas wants some pitching. They're not going to go get DeGrom and Rodon. There's a chance they could potentially miss out on both as well. Eovaldi makes a lot of sense for Texas. They are also giving Martin Perez a qualifying offer, but I don't think money is going to be a problem for them. I don't think they really care about the financial side of things when it comes to luxury tax. I don't think they're going to care that much, honestly. I think they're just going to go spend a bunch of money. And I think Eovaldi would fit very well in Texas. And like I said, it's a homecoming for him. He's from Texas. For Michael Wacha, I think he's more likely to come back, but am I guaranteeing he's coming back? I'm not going to guarantee it. There's so many options in the pitching market, which I'll get to in a second, right? But you look at the Red Sox and you start looking at, options for them that are like leaving and coming back that could come back from pitching side of things. I think Wacha is probably the most likely. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean I think he's going to come back. I don't know if he's going to come back. The big question with both Eovaldi and Wacha is the qualifying offer. And to me, the qualifying offer, I don't think I would give it to either of them. Maybe Wacha. I don't know what the team really thinks about Wacha, although I know there is interest in bringing him back. If the team is really confident in Wacha, then maybe give it to him because it's only 1 year deal. It's not going to hurt you, right? And maybe he declines it anyways. Eovaldi, I think he would accept it. Now, I wouldn't be upset at it. It's only a 1 year deal at the end of the day. But I wouldn't be like happy about it. I'd be like, I wouldn't be like going around, oh, this is a great deal. I wouldn't, no. But it's not a bad deal at the same time either, right? Because it's only 1 year. So you don't have to, if he's bad for that 1 year, what does it mean? If he's good, that's great too. That's just how I see it, honestly. But there's definitely some options for the Red Sox, whether they keep both of them. Well, I don't think they're going to keep both of them, but you never know. They could. Or they go in different directions. They only keep one of them. Maybe they don't keep both of them. Who knows? Also, starting pitcher leaving the Red Sox, Rich Hill. I know there is a little bit of mutual interest on both sides in a reunion. But here's the thing with Rich Hill. He's the one guy that I have no clue what's going to happen for the Red Sox. No clue. I just don't know. He's one guy. I have absolutely zero clue. But I will say this one thing on Red Sox. It wouldn't surprise me as a reunion because I think he's really good depth. However, I don't want him to be one of the 5 starters when everyone's healthy, like he pretty much was in 2020, in 2022. But Red Sox have a lot of options. I know some people have been throwing around the name Pablo Lopez for a trade, but I don't see it happening. However, in the Bleach Brawls Red Sox group chat, Doug threw in his offseason, what he would do in the offseason. I threw mine in. For me, if you're looking at pitching, you got to be aggressive. I'm very high on Kodai Senga. I like him a lot. You also have guys like Tyler Anderson, Jameson Taijuan Walker, Chris Bassett. Obviously have your big guys like Rodon, Verlander, Kershaw, and DeGrom. I don't see those happening necessarily. Rodon's probably the closest, but I'm not crazy about it. But you also have kind of some more kind of even that moving towards the third tier of guys where it's like Andrew Heaney, Ross Stripling, Noah Syndergaard, Sean Manaea. And then and there's other guys there too. I'm not going to name everyone. I'm not naming everyone. But then even further down, you have guys like Michael Lorenzen, Mike Clevenger, Matthew Boyd. There are options, right? There are options. So I think the Red Sox could definitely go into the year with anywhere from 8 to 10 guys who could legitimately start. It's also a chance that 3 or 4 of them could definitely work in the bullpen as well, right? Whitlock and Houck. I know they told Whitlock he's going to be a starter, and they're telling Houck to build up as a starter, but they expect him in the pen. Houck, I think will end up in the pen. Whitlock, even though they're telling him he's going to be a starter and they're saying he's going to be a starter, if they go out and get a bunch of starters, I don't know if Whitlock starts ahead of some of the guys that they could get, right? And I'm very high on Kodai Senga. I know a lot of scouts are high on him, and there's a lot of scouts have said that he'll transfer well to the MLB and whatever. But I think you also go back to the 2017 World Baseball Classic. He pitched against the U.S., looked good against the U.S. So it's not like we haven't seen this guy pitch in the MLB competition. Granted, that was 5 years ago. However, there will be another World Baseball Classic as well. In 2020 and 2023 before the season, I think in February, I think. So that'll be interesting. But also too, the big thing Kodai Senga, no posting fee. He will be an international free agent, so you don't have to pay a posting fee as well for him. Obviously, a posting fee doesn't count towards the luxury tax, but it's still extra money you got to pay. And also, I know the Red Sox, they have been linked with Andrew Heaney, Seth Lugo, and others, according to Chris Cotillo. So yeah, they definitely have a lot of options. And then moving to the bullpen, Matt Strom's the only guy who's a pending free agent out of the bullpen, unless I'm just drawing a blank on someone. Also, too, I think Ryan Brazier probably gets DFA'd. But also with bullpen, you can go out and get guys like there's Rafael Montero, Michael Fulmer, Andrew Chafin, and there's other guys as well. But I don't want to list 20 bullpen guys. Um, but I think there's definitely room for that. You look at other Red Sox free agents, Tommy Pham, mutual option gets declined. It was declined by both parties actually, which is surprising. Pham and the Red Sox both declined. Oh, I do want to say James Paxton real quick before I move on to start pitching. James Paxton opted into his $4 million player option, and he's one of those guys that him and Nick Pivetta both could end up starting, could end up in the pen too. That's how I see both of them. But move on to outfield. Tommy Pham, he's gone. Um, he's gone for now. He could still come back. However, I don't think it makes sense unless they just whiff on every outfielder. And I think there's some solid fits for the Red Sox. Right field, Ramon Laureano trade possibility, maybe. Solid defensively, you got to try and work on that back, bring that bat back a little bit. But he's going to give you great defense in right field. Michael Conforto is an option, solid option. Mitch Haniger is another option. And there's other options too. I know people could say Aaron Judge. I don't see Aaron Judge to the Red Sox. Only reason I see Red Sox in the bidding is just to drive the price up for the Yankees. So I don't personally see it happening, but I mean, they miss out on Bogarts for whatever reason. They don't, and they feel comfortable going for cheaper at shortstop or moving Story over to second, going cheaper at second. Then they could go for Judge. I just don't see it happening at all, right? And I just kind of, I don't know. That's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. I don't know. The right field spot's very weird, right? I think you got to put Verdugo on left. You're gonna have Kike in center. Right field, just kind of an unknown. There aren't any like great options because, like I said, I don't see Aaron Judge happening. So you're kind of in a weird spot where like Michael Conforto's not a bad option, but he's a lefty, and how many lefties do you want in your lineup? You already have Devers, Cassis, and Verdugo, and potentially Reese McGuire if he ends up being the starting catcher, which we'll get to, but who knows? Um, you know, I don't know if that really makes sense. Conforto, preferably a righty, so Mitch Haniger, but he's been injured, hasn't played much over the last couple of years. Conforto hasn't played in over a year, so like there are question marks to the guys they could target. Even Ramon Laureano, even though he's been healthy, like the offense hasn't been the same. So although he is still very good defensively, so there are questions in right field. Obviously, there's probably other guys too that I'm not thinking of. I'm just drawing a blank on. But yeah, there's probably other guys too. DH spot, JD Martinez. I think he's gone. I don't think he's coming back. The DH spot, I think it will be rotated, but it depends also too how much money the Red Sox are willing to spend. Are they willing to go get a DH on like a 1 year deal? I don't think Jose Abreu is going to get a 1 year deal. I think someone might give him like a 2 year deal, but maybe if you can get him on a 1 year deal, maybe. But also too, maybe look at a guy like a Michael Brantley. I know he's a lefty, but like if you have no other options, he might not be like a bad option. Is what I'm saying. Trey Mancini maybe, or even like Jock Peterson. Like that's another lefty. It's not preferable. Maybe a Justin Turner. Like you're not gonna get the greatest hitter at the DH spot. And I think it probably would just make sense to rotate guys. But hey, maybe you want to go get a guy who can for 1 year will just sit in that DH spot. Maybe, who knows? Catcher spot, obviously, they have Reese McGuire and Connor Wong, but they could look to upgrade it. If they do upgrade it, I want them to roll with 3 catchers on the roster. I think Connor Wong can fill in a little bit at second base and third base if needed. Did it in the minor leagues a little bit when he was in the Dodgers system. So he can be a little bit utility and catch as well. Reese McGuire is obviously going to catch. And there's been a lot of talk of Christian Vasquez reunion. That could potentially make sense. He'll be probably cheaper and not a long deal. Maybe even a 1 year deal. Who knows? Mike Zunino, though, is another name to watch. Heimblum knows him well from his time in Tampa. I've been saying it for since July. Hey, watch out. The Red Sox is going to sign a catcher in free agency. Watch out for Mike Zunino. It's going to be him. Now, I don't know if it will be or not, but, Mike Zunino, though, does have ties to Chaim Bloom. And Mike Zunino is very good behind the plate. So you also have that. Now, starting to look at the rest of the roster, obviously, moving on, did the pitching, covering the pitching rotation, bullpen, whatever. There's not a whole, much else to look at. You would start to think, but there is a little bit, right? You have the bench spots. You have 4 bench spots, right? If they carry 3 catchers and they go that kind of route, actually, I don't know how they would go that route, honestly, unless they carried 1 less pitcher, but teams don't like doing that. So 3 catchers probably outside the. I mean, maybe they could, and they don't figure out a way to get rid of Eric Hosmer because Vasquez could play first occasionally. Maybe they try and get Connor Wong or Arroyo to play first. I don't know. We also you're gonna have Rob Refsnyder on your bench. I think they won't go sign a DH. Here's what I'll say. I'll put my money on. I don't think they're gonna sign a DH. I think they're just gonna rotate the DH spot. I think Christian Arroyo will be a prime candidate to get more of the DH at bats, right? So I think you could maybe if you have 3 catchers, you have McGuire and Wong on the bench. Then you have Rob Refsnyder, just 1 open bench spot, probably Eric Hosmer. However, if you stick with 2 catchers, right, you have an open bench spot. I personally, I still a couple people going, Arroyo could help you out in the outfield. No, not doing it. Arroyo's not touching the outfield this year. Keep him in the infield, keep him where he's comfortable. He can play second, third, short, first if absolutely needed, but try and keep him away from first too. But I think Arroyo will end up DHing a decent amount, and they just kind of rotate through the DH spot, put Story DH occasionally, whoever the shortstop is occasionally, Devers occasionally. They'll figure it out, right? Maybe occasionally put like Verdugo or Kike but occasionally have someone else DH and put Refsnyder in the outfield, give Arroyo a day off. I think that's kind of what they'll do. However, I would like to see them bring in a versatile guy for the bench. Someone who can play a bunch of different positions. Aledmys Diaz is one option. He is a free agent. Also, too, Chad Pinder, free agent. Been playing for the A's for a while now. But yeah, those 2 guys that maybe could fit that role. I'm trying to think. I can't really think of a lot of utility guys. There's not a whole bunch of them. Kind of an experienced kind of utility guy. Not going to play a lot, but gives versatility. And like Aledmys Diaz, shown in time in Houston, he can step in and play well enough. He can play a bunch of different positions. And, Chad Pinder's done it in Oakland. I know Pinder is older. I'm pretty sure Pinder is older. You're probably going to get more production from an Aledmys Diaz. But it's something to look into if you have the open bench spot, especially if Hosmer doesn't stay, or even if Hosmer does stay, maybe and if Arroyo's DHing, Hosmer's on the bench. You have an open bench spot still. If you only roll with 2 catchers, only 1 catcher on the bench, then Hosmer, Refsnyder have an open bench spot. There could potentially, like I'm saying, there could potentially be an open bench spot for one of those versatility guys. And I think last but not least, for the Red Sox, guys, say the best for last, get a Devers extension done. Get the Raffy extension done, please. I think a Raffy extension is more important than Bogaerts because there's no replacement plan for Raffy. For Bogaerts, if you look, you do have Meyer coming up through the pipeline, but there's also 3 other shortstops you can go sign. That's the thing. There's Raffy. You don't get a Raffy extension done, and he hits free agency next year and he leaves. Who's playing third? That's the big question. Obviously, Marcelo Meyer, maybe Marcelo Meyer. But let's not rush him though. I expect him to see the big leagues potentially in 2024, but not the beginning of 2020. That's the whole thing, right? So you don't have a real replacement for Devers. So I do think you have to figure that out, get that extension done. I know Devers wants to be paid a lot. To me, a great point. Devers wants to get paid a lot. Start with the Manny Machado deal, 10 years, $300 million. Start with that. Yes, he might end up at the DH spot. Guess what? Who cares? Who cares? Honestly, to me, the DH spot shouldn't be negative because he doesn't play defense. It should, if a guy's a negative defender and you move him to the DH spot, it actually should add value because he's not costing you on defense. At least that's how I see it. That's personally how I see it. You take someone like JD Martinez who's not going to give you good value in the outfield, probably going to give you negative value defensively. When you put him at DH, you're taking away negative value. So to me, that's positive value. That's how I see it. I don't think Devers moving the DH is going to like kill his value. And Yordan Alvarez is going to be getting like $26 million a year, and he'll be DHing most likely. So no problem giving Devers $30 million a year if he ends up DHing. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways for the Red Sox offseason go. Obviously, they could go a little bit quieter offseason. Maybe they bring back Bogarts, but they don't go massive. Maybe you bring in like a Mitch Haniger, or then maybe you bring in some guys, some starters. Like maybe you don't bring in like the Rodon or whatever. Maybe you bring guys like Andrew Heaney, Noah Syndergaard. Maybe you bring in like a Kodai Senga or even a Tyler Anderson. But I don't see the Red Sox just going out and splashing casts like crazy. They're gonna spread it around a little bit, spread it around. They're gonna bring in a lot of pitchers, I think. I think they could legitimately have 8 to 10 guys who could start, and 3 or 4 of them gonna end up in the bullpen who could start. I think you could still see next year, heading into next year, Garrett Whitlock and Tanner Houck in the bullpen, and maybe even like a Nick Pivetta in the pen, and maybe even a James Paxton in the pen. I think there's legitimate options for that. I think that legitimately could happen. And I think you just sort of go find your best, 13 pitchers that you can put on your roster, whether they're starters or relievers, and figure it out. Go out, get guys, especially bullpen guys. Rafael Montero, Michael Fulmer, Andrew Chafin. Got to go get bullpen guys. 2, that's a big thing. Red Sox had a lot of lefties heading into last year. Coming into this year, you don't really have any lefties in that bullpen. And you can't count on Josh Taylor. He honestly might even be a DFA candidate. Matt Strom's probably gone, especially if he wants to be a starter. He's gone. So, Andrew Chafin will not be a bad option at all for the Red Sox. But there's a lot of interesting options for the Red Sox that they will have to consider. A lot of different paths to go down. Hopefully, though, they get it done. They have a lot of needs: shortstop, right field, starting pitching, relieving, maybe catcher and DH as well. That's a lot of holes. Have a lot of money available, and like I said, they're not just going to go up to the luxury tax and stop. They can also go over it as well if they need to. So money is not really a problem. It's just they're not going to just chuck money at everyone. They're going to spread it around. I don't see them just chucking money at Rodon and Bogarts and this guy and that guy. I don't see it. I think they're going to kind of spread it around, get that shortstop, and then kind of spread it around elsewhere and try and bring in a good group of guys instead of just getting 1 or 2 guys. That's how I see the offseason going. But it's going to be a very interesting one. Thanks for tuning in to Bleach Brawls. Check out all the links in the description, the Bleach Brawls website, podcast, Instagram, and Twitter. Also to all the Crew's Twitters, and I will leave the link to my last column covering the Red Sox pending free agents. I'll leave it down below in the description as well. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified when we post. I have a lot of Red Sox and Yankees content here on Bleacher Brawls with our Red Sox and Yankees crew. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned. We have a lot of good stuff. Also, too, just covering all the free agent signings across the league as well. We're going to have a lot of fun stuff planned for this offseason. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a comment if you have any thoughts on this Red Sox offseason. It's going to be a very interesting one. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Derrik. You've been watching Bleacher Brawls, and I'll see you next time.